We were talking about the ayah in Surat Al-Noor. It talks about the light in the heart of the believer, and then it talks about the places where this light could most probably be obtained, which is the masajid, في بيوت أذن الله أن ترفع. And then it talked about the kuffar, who Allah give two examples for them. One of them is of a man who is thirsty, and he sees a mirage in the far distance, in a flat land, and he is striving very hard to reach this water because he's thirsty, and he's working hard to reach the water, but unfortunately when he reaches there he finds nothing. And not only that he finds nothing, that he finds Allah waiting for him to hold him accountable. For what? For not doing things in the right way. I mean, nobody goes astray by coincidence. Nobody becomes a kafir and dies as a kafir by coincidence. It all is based upon human choices. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given human beings enough ability to recognize Him and to seek His way. Starting from al-aql, the mind, the fitrah, this fitrah that Allah has placed in us, that every human being, that makes him seek his Lord and recognize that he has a Lord and he has an obligation towards his Lord. This kind of feeling that's inside, that is fitrah. And then of course your mind. Like yesterday we were talking, when Ijaz was mentioning that you find that he has a PhD in such and such science, but then he's bound down to a cow or to a rat. So where is the mind here? He did not. Allah says, وَجَعَلَ لَكُمُ السَّمْعَ وَالْأَبْصَارَ وَالْأَفْئِدَةَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ. I give you the sight, the hearing, and the mind, so that you use it to make to logic decisions. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ. So all these, and also Allah says, إِنَّ السَّمْعَ وَالْبَصَرَ وَالْفُؤَادَ كُلُّ أُولَٰئِكَ كَانَ عَنْهُ مَسْئُولًا. Your sight and hearing and mind, you'll be questioned about all this. So a man, we talk about the fitrah, the aql, the mind, and then the la'il al-iman. Allah has scattered signs in front of us all, in every single moment of our lives. Allah has put signs in your body. Allah has put signs. وَفِي أَنفُسِكُمْ أَفَلَا تُبْصِرُونَ. In your children Allah has put signs. In the air that you breathe, you cannot run away from Allah's signs. If you try to run away, you cannot run away from Allah's signs. Allah says, فَأَيْنَ تَذْهَبُونَ. Where can you run away? Where do you go? So all these signs as well, on top of the fitrah and the mind, all these signs, and on top of all this, you have messengers on top of all this, and risalat, messenger after messenger. And after all this, you want to ignore all that and live your life the way that you want, full of all your desires, fulfill all your desires, and then ask and then expect not to be questioned. That is not going to happen. That is not what life is about. الذين اتخذوا دينهم لهوا ولعبا. They have made their life or their way in life, deen, or the religion, لهوا ولعبا. It's like a game, or like some fun, or like some desire. So that is why, they will be held accountable for that. And then he says another example of the kuffar. So this was the first example, especially for those who are leaders. This first example is mentioned mainly for those who are leaders who are working hard in the wrong way. الذين ضل سعيهم في الحياة الدنيا وهم يحسبون أنهم يحسنون صنعا. Those who went astray while they are working hard. They are working hard but in the wrong way. And they think that they are on the right way. Because they did not do the things in the proper way. If they did things in the proper way, they would not miss the way. If you going on a trip, and before you go on a trip, you start asking people, and then you download the map, and then you take all the appropriate steps, you won't get lost. But if you say, okay, I'm just enjoying this ride, I'm just going to check my luck, and then you go on a trip and you get lost, you can only blame yourself. You say, oh, I've driven 1,000 miles and I still haven't gotten to the destination, which is maybe 100 miles away. It doesn't go by distances or by how much effort you put in it. You should do it the right way, you will reach that place, right? And then Allah gives a second example of the kuffar, like darkness. He says, أَوْ كَظُلُمَاتٍ فِي بَحْرٍ, just like the darkness that is in the bottom of the sea. فِي بَحْرٍ لُجِّي. Lujji means means a deep sea, like the darkness in the deep sea. This sea, it says, is covered by waves. يَغْشَاهُ مَوْجٌ مِنْ فَوْقِهِ مَوْجٌ. He didn't say just waves, he says waves on top of waves. Above the waves are the clouds. Like it is like a cloudy day. Imagine a dark, like cloudy day. The sun is there, of course, but he didn't say it is in the night. He says there is light out there. Because why this example applies? Why? Because the light is there. Like the light of Allah's guidance is there. The sun is there. But they have engulfed themselves in barrier after barrier, layer after layer, darkness after darkness. They cannot reach this light. The light does not penetrate all these deep barriers that they have put themselves in. So waves on top of clouds, on top of waves, on top of second waves, and all the depths of the sea. Does the light reach the depths of the sea? We know this now, right? Did the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and his time, people who lived at his time, was this knowledge available to them? Was this knowledge of darkness in the depths of the sea available to them? It wasn't. Could somebody go that deep in the sea until the light goes away at that time? Nobody. It's impossible. So this is a miracle here. Not only that, also scholars mentioned يَغْشَاهُ مَوْجٌ مِنْ فَوْقِهِ مَوْجٌ. The deep seas, it is not only one layer of waves. There's a superficial layer of waves, and in the depths of the sea there's another layer of waves. There's another layer of waves. That was another piece of scientific fact that was discovered lately, that in the deep seas there's more than one layer of waves, the deep waves and the superficial waves. And then the darkness. Look at how much the darkness is. ظُلُمَاتٌ بَعْضُهَا فَوْقَ بَعْضٍ. He said darkness after darkness. إِذَا أَخْرَجَ يَدَهُ لَمْ يَكَدْ يَرَاهُ. He says when he puts his hand in front of his face, imagine yourself in that depth, and you put your hand in front of your face. He says you can't even see your hand. If a person cannot even see his own hand, how can he find his way? If he is so much in darkness that he can't see his own hand, how can he find his way? He cannot find his way. But Allah says then, وَمَنْ لَمْ يَجْعَلِ اللَّهُ لَهُ نُورًا فَمَا لَهُ مِنْ نُورٍ. He says those who have not been granted the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they cannot find light. Because there's only one light. There's only one way to seek this light, which is according to Allah's manhaj, according to the last Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you seek light through any other way, millions of other ways, you will not reach the light. وَمَنْ لَمْ يَجْعَلِ اللَّهُ لَهُ نُورًا فَمَا لَهُ مِنْ نُورٍ. It's only one way to reach this light. If you do it wrongly, you do not reach the light, and then you live in darkness. Scholars even mention that, like scholars of science mention that in the depths of the sea, the creatures don't even have eyes. They don't have eyes. Because if they had eyes, they wouldn't be able to see with them. They don't need the eyes. They have like sensors and tentacles and things like this. It's very strange. Not only that, the pressure of these animals in the depth of the sea, their inside pressure is so high, if you bring them out, they will explode. Some animals in the depths of the sea haven't even been discovered yet. Not only that, scholars mention that human beings are going to the moon and to Mars to discover these planets, while most of the earth has not been discovered. In the depths of the sea, they haven't discovered most of the depths of the sea, and they're flying up to Mars. Find out what you have first in your own backyard before you go up to the moon and to heaven. Subhanallah. Any question about these ayat?
Yeah, it's true that nobody goes astray by coincidence.
Yes.
But what of Shaitan?
Mm-hmm.
What of Majuj?
Yajuj and Majuj.
What of the uncle of Prophet Muhammad?
Sorry? Who?
The uncle of the Prophet.
The uncle, yes.
He couldn't proclaim
Yeah, exactly. See, this is a very important question. When Musa alayhi salam came to Fir'aun to guide him to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know what Fir'aun said to him? I'll just mention the ayah to you if I can remember it here. Now, قال فمن ربكما يا موسى. Who is your Lord, O Musa? He says, ربنا الذي أعطى كل شيء ثم هدى. He is the one who created everything and guided it to its purpose in life. He says, فما بال القرون الأولى. He says, so what about all these generations and generations of people who are not following the right way? what about them? Yani, what did they do wrong, for instance? And what is their fate? All these questions, this is above our mind. Can you investigate the life of each individual person who lives? Can you investigate the life of your brother even? For instance, if he went astray, why he went astray? Sometimes one of us goes astray because he made a mistake. And only later in life he might recognize, oh, it was that mistake that led me astray in that thing. It is so complicated. You know what Musa said to him when he says, so what about all these generations? Like now you're asking, Ya'juj and Ma'juj, the uncle of the Prophet, even the father of the Prophet. Why do you go far away? The father of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was not on the straight path. His father even. And he says, the son of Nuh alayhi salam was not, right? The wife of Nuh alayhi salam, the wife of Lut alayhi salam was not on the straight path. Why do we go far away? He says, what about all these generations? He says, قال علمها عند ربي في كتاب. He says, its knowledge is to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. قال علمها عند ربي في كتاب لا يضل ربي وينسى. He says, Allah does not make mistakes. لا يضل ربي ولا ينسى. He does not forget. Allah has not forgotten any individual and has not made a mistake and will not make a mistake with any individual's destiny. If someone, for instance, just happened not to hear anything during his life. See, if he missed the fiqh and he missed the mind, what his mind tells him, and he missed the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the universe. If he missed all these things, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not question him as long as he listened to the Prophet. Let's say he missed all these things, and then he did not get a chance to listen to the Prophet. Allah would not hold him accountable. He will not tell him, oh, I gave you the mind, the fitrah, and the science. Why didn't you follow my way? Allah would not hold him accountable because he did not hear about a messenger. وَمَا كُنَّا مُعَذِّبِينَ حَتَّى نَبْعَثَ رَسُولًا. I would not torture or punish anyone until I send a messenger. And نَبْعَثَ رَسُولًا here means that not only the messenger is sent, but the individual gets a chance to hear about the messenger, to get a chance to hear about the messenger. What if there happens to be an individual who never heard about the messenger? That individual again is exposed to a trial in the day of judgment. That he will not be taken to hellfire. Oh, you are not a Muslim, you go to hellfire, but as long as he has not actually heard about the messenger. Then Allah will give him a trial in the day of judgment. He will send him a messenger in the day of judgment, telling him what? You know the hadith? There's a hadith of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and he says, those three kinds of people come in the day of judgment, say, oh Allah, we didn't really get a messenger from you. One of them is somebody who was born deaf and blind. And he says, I was born deaf and blind, I never heard anything or saw anything. Another one, he says, who was crazy, like insane. He says, oh, I lived in this life and everyone was making fun of me. I didn't even know anything about your religion. And then he says, and a third man, ala fatra, like he was born in a place where he could not, no information came to him. Like some people live in the Amazon, for instance. They haven't been in touch with civilization at all. Some people in Africa, right? So he says, I never was exposed to any of your knowledge. So he says to him, okay, if I send you a messenger, will you listen and obey? He says, yes, I will listen and obey. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends him a messenger in the day of judgment and says to him, Allah is commanding you to throw yourself in that hellfire. And then his Prophet Muhammad says, whoever obeys, he will find himself in Jannah. He will not actually burn. And he says, whoever disobeys, he will be dragged to hellfire. Subhanallah. So nobody, and that's just for those people, a minority. That is not the rule. The rule is everyone has heard, and everyone knows. Everyone is aware and is insightful about his situation, even though he makes excuses, even though he makes so many excuses. So